So, in general, the science and the scientists have been screaming for a long time, 3 decades now, that we shouldn't allow the planet to warm up too much. But it's never been that clear what too much is. Over the last couple of years, that's become much clearer, and in fact, over the last 6 to 12 months, that's become much clearer. And so whilst it's the case that 4 degrees is better than 5 and 2 is better than 3, recent work, notably the 2018 IPCC report, but also work over the last 6 to 12 months, has highlighted the impact of tipping points. Tipping points being changes to the climate system that happen much more rapidly and often irreversibly, at least in human timescales. So you can turn them around in 100,000 years, but you can't turn them around in 100 years. So up here you can see a bunch of those tipping points, the ones that are the most commonly cited. They're also cascading. If one tips, the other ones tip as well. And I'm just going to highlight 3 of them. The first one is at the bottom. That's the West Antarctic ice shelf. That represents about 3 metres of sea level rise. We may have already emitted too much stuff to stop that from melting. But if not, it will most likely go between now and 1.5 degrees. That glacier has a big sister to the north, the Greenland ice shelf. And the Greenland ice shelf represents about 7 metres of sea level rise, so collectively 10 metres. Same story, we may have already emitted too much to stop it from melting, but if not, then it will tip somewhere in the vicinity of 1.5 degrees. Now this is a centuries-long transition, but it is an irreversible transition. The other one of note, and research has come out very recently on this 6 months ago, which is the Amazon rainforest. And we have long known that the Amazon rainforest is at risk of shifting from being a rainforest, which I didn't even think about actually creates rain, to a savanna. This research, where 200 scientists went out and measured 135,000 trees with little tape measures, showed that the Amazon is in a period of what you might call structural decline. So not in chunks of the forest that are being deforested, but in intact parts of the forest, we are seeing it is reducing its ability to absorb carbon. And on the midpoint estimate of that study, the Amazon shifts from being a sink of carbon to being a source of carbon about 2034. So we're talking about the functional collapse of the Amazon in upwards of 15 years if we continue on the trajectory we're on at the moment. Once that does tip, unlike the glaciers to the north and south, it will happen fast. It will happen in decades, and it will again be irreversible in human timescales. And the demise of the Amazon as a rainforest is a really bad outcome for a lot of things. So the punchline there is that it has become increasingly clear that we need to do everything we can to stay below 1.5 degrees, whilst recognising that is a Herculean task.